Hello, welcome, friends. It's Cyndi. We're on the Metaphysical Wisdom podcast, and I'm with my friend David Beaudry today. Welcome, David.
Hi, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Yes, I encountered David online through his YouTube videos, and I love the name of his organization called Noble Movement. And so that was the first attraction and doorway and into what you share. And you are a Qigong teacher, and among other things, you have a very broad background. It's a deep root into several wisdom traditions. So I'm really excited to share you with the community here today. And where are you zooming in from?
I'm from North Carolina right now, coming in from North Carolina.
Okay, wonderful. So, and I'm on the West Coast, so it's great to have that arc. And yeah, one of the things that I love about I'm on your newsletter. I receive your weekly or however frequently they come messages, and you share a lot of poetry, which I love. And you have recently shared that you're opening a 200-hour teacher training for Qigong, and it's specifically something you refer to as somatic Qigong.
Yes.
And many of my listeners are Qigong practitioners themselves and teachers. And so I thought we'd start there and just let you talk a little bit about what is somatic Qigong. I mean, it's all somatic, but there must be something of why you call it
Yes.
that. And how did you come to this?
So, I got my training in medical Qigong. So spent 3 years in a doctorate program, and it was all amazing. And as a personal trainer, for 15 years and a football player, I started to see the bridge between healing cancer and the flow state. And I was like, so the last 5 years I've been teaching medical Qigong practitioner trainings, and I started to meditate because I started feeling overwhelmed with life and there's too much to do. And I was like, God, what am I here to do? And more importantly, who am I here to be? How can I not chase anything and just allow, with the words that came in were radiance, somatic, brilliance, soul. I was like, what is this frequency? And how do I let go of how I've been doing business, right? And so I was just like, I'm gonna let everything go. I'm not gonna teach this year, and I'm gonna be here for my wife, and we have a new baby boy coming into the world. So I'm like, oh. And so
Congratulations.
for a full day, I really was like, all right, God, if I'm not meant to do this, what am I meant to do? How am I meant to really show up? And then I heard, like somatic qigong, David. What you teach is somatics. And I
Mhm.
have my degree in psychology. So the successful people who are in any kind of therapy are the ones who have the somatic tools to clear the trauma from the nervous system. And the four primary somatic tools I've laid out in the medical Qigong is breath, movement, touch, right? And sound, toning. And so these four pieces, I noticed I teach these four things to everybody. And you don't need to know about chi or energy or have any particular um scientific background or spiritual background. It's like, oh, this works. I know how to calm my heart. And once my heart is calm through this somatic awareness, right? Because Qigong also means energy uh, cultivation or awareness. And so I was like, oh, like there's thousands of styles of Qigong, you
Mhm.
know? And if you break Qigong down into three primary schools, right? You have your medical Qigong to help heal issues and emotions and, heal the achy shoulders. Then you have the martial qigong, which is like athletic, like really building internal power. You can break through boards and bricks. And I've been around these guys and I'm like, holy shit. If I knew about this when I was playing football, I would have just been exploding people. And so qigong became this real bridge to the gym. I started going to the gym and I would just connect to spirit. I would do a few pulling down heavens, connect to my, enlightened ancestry, and then be in the gym pumping weights, feeling like the spirit of God as I'm in the Iron Temple. And so as I let go of the kind of medical title, like, oh, it's easier than that. I'm not diagnosing diseases and issues. I'm teaching people practices to heal themselves, right? And so I started to recognize these patterns of the elements, and somebody's too fire or too water or too earth. Oh, here's a practice for you. Here's a nice practice, whether that's a breath or a movement, or you just gotta sing. You gotta sing. That's it. You sing, and whatever you need to heal will heal. So it's this very practical approach to healing the nervous system, and it also connects us to the divine within. Our cells are divine, just like the earth and the sky.
Yeah, the resonance. And yeah, like you mentioned the flow state, and there's so much interest in that right now. And the flow state is our natural state. And so what keeps us from that? And it's like with Qigong, we're looking at removing stagnation and getting more circulation of that life force through us. And so that is, the flow state is related to that. And also, science is really discovering the flow state is about shutting off certain parts of the brain rather than turning on certain parts, right?
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So in your practice of training people, you've had teachers yourself, a lineage of teachers, and I'm sure you have stories of how you first came to Qigong and how you were guided to the right teacher at the right time. And I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey into the world of Qigong and energy medicine. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I was 19 years old playing football, and I started reading about all the world religions, Buddhism, Taoism, the Gnostics, and I had this enlightenment moment. I was like, oh my God, I'm here to become enlightened through my body and share it with the world. And I was in complete bliss for many months. I would just look up at the sky and be like, wow, I'm a sponge for life. And I was like, I'm never gonna be sad or depressed again. Like, and then a year later, I had the dark night of the soul. I was depressed. I was sad. I was like, what happened? I was, and then I began to just pray really hard. I was like, God, why am I here? What am I here to do? Who am I here to be? And that I didn't know Qigong or anything at that point. I just knew a little bit about Eastern philosophy. And I remember this moment in college. I would study before practice, and I'll often fall asleep in the library. So I'm reading about, these wisdom traditions of awakening, Christ and Buddha and Krishna. I was like, whoa. And I would read a download, and I would feel this something happening in my being. I was like, how do I live like that? And then I would fall asleep and drool on my book, and I would wake up, oh, I gotta go play football. I gotta go, and then I would play football, but there was this awareness of like being one with all of life. And I remember a moment, flash back to my very first awakening at 9 years old, no, 11 years old. 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was a depressed and sad a lot as a kid, unless I was in nature.
Uh-huh.
Unless I was in nature, and nature was my healing. I remember who I was, and as families do, there's depression, and there's things in the family line, and when I went out to nature, all that cleared away. And so I remember playing football and sweating my first year, feeling like, God, please help me, I'm gonna die. I can't take it. And there was this moment, just holding like horse stance, like a deep horse stance, but imagine with a helmet on and fucking pads. I'm like 11 years old, like, but I'm gonna explode. And then and they call it the pituitary pain syndrome in medical. So once you go through this pain threshold, right, whether you're doing an exercise or movement, or it happens with foam rolling, it happens with these initiations, right? You burn yourself. There's these initiations that happen. And so in this pain, my third eye opened up, or my pineal gland opened up, and I felt one with God, with all of creation. And I was in no pain. And and everything went silent, no coaches was yelling. It was just like, and I could see the trees in the background. I could feel the wind, and I was like, whoa, I'm here, I'm one with all things. The enlightened energy is here. And then it took me a couple of decades to figure out what that experience was, Another decade later, I'm in my early 20s and I'm like, oh, this Qigong that I've found is what I used to experience playing football. That
Uh-huh.
that oneness with God I experienced training football and sprinting in the wee hours of the morning up hills and just feeling like, yeah.
Wow. So you're calling it the pineal threshold?
I believe it's called the pituitary
Pituitary.
pain. It's not a syndrome, but the pituitary gland begins to release certain neurochemicals to handle the pain.
Uh-huh.
So in my courses, I teach, and with all my clients for the last 15 years, I teach them foam rolling. And the magic, I got to share with you, the magic of foam rolling. In the ancient texts, they talk about clearing blockages, and they would do it literally by slapping, by
Right.
opening up, by using different bamboo sticks and things. And so from a trainer's perspective, I tore my ACL, tore my shoulder. So I couldn't lift heavy anymore. I had to do foam rolling to unwind my spine, my back. I had all this chronic pain. And then the foam rolling like just started to heal my body. And it was kind of excruciating at first. Foam rolling, if you've ever done it, you get on that thing, it's like a deep tissue massage, somebody putting an elbow, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, this sucks. This does not feel that good. But what you learn, the most essential key you learn here is how to breathe through pain, breathe through discomfort, because life will bring pain. Suffering is optional, right? So the Buddha talks about, the suffering that comes from the mind. So like shit happens, accidents happen. And knowing how to use these somatic tools of breath work, of massage, right? Or touch, right? Foam rolling. The fancy term is self-myofascial release, right? That's the scientific term. The old, you know what they call it back in ancient China? Pai Da.
Tai Da.
Pai Da means slap out the demons. Right? But it's amazing because I would have clients in the gym, we would do a little breathing, a little warm up, and we would always start with foam rolling to unwind the tension before doing, heavy lifting or lifting time.
Well, I
And
think what's interesting now with their discovering with the fascia, just the incredible way that when we work with the fascia, like that it may even be where the meridians are. And so when you unlock that, that's when the chi starts flowing through the meridians. So that's, I've had the experience, I don't, doing something called body rolling. I got certified to teach that many, many years ago. And it's a ball, and you can use different firmnesses of balls, but it's similar to rolling out on a roller, except the ball, it's like the Dyson of foam rolling, right? Like the Dyson vacuum where, it doesn't just go forward and back, it can go in all kinds of directions. So the body rolling, I can remember doing it, I think for, I don't know, a couple hours one day and just being so blissful afterwards. And not because in that moment it felt good in every instance, but after, there was so much chi coursing through my body that there was a liberation that had occurred through breaking up the adhesions and moving the stagnation out. So I understand totally what you're talking about. And it seems to be such a hot topic right now.
yes, you're sharing that. That body rolling is such a simple somatic tool to breathe through the fascial adhesions and the emotions that are also stored in there.
Mhm.
So as an example, if somebody gets in a car accident, as example, and they're fine, everything's hey, but the body locks up when they get hit. And so, so the psoas is tight, or the hips, or the diaphragm, and I've come into contact, I used to train many police officers and firefighters, and I was like, oh, we just have to open up your diaphragm and your psoas. We have to that fight or flight got locked up in there, and now we've got to massage, open it up, and actually literally clear it from the nervous system. But what's amazing is even if there's something that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or even in your ancestry, you breathe through it like, wow, this is uncomfortable. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm fearful. All that is you just there's no mind. It's like, oh, I just breathe. Make some tones, right? Because that's how we move energy is by emoting,
Be
right?
present
And
with
being
it.
present 100%. That's it. That's it. Being present with the feeling sensation, whether no matter what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a key. So it's like consciousness is having an experience through us, or awareness is having an experience through our conscious awareness. And in allowing that, it's learning about itself, how it can unwind the limitations and have more freedom through the form. And that's really what it's seeking, is more creative freedom through each of us. And when it bumps up against these limitations, it puts pressure on them, and then we get uncomfortable. We have to eventually turn towards that. And when we turn towards it and we meet it and are present with that, there is a period of discomfort, like a dark night. But on the other side of that, there is an expanded level of movement, of,
Yeah.
like you would say, nobility in what gets, like how this instrument gets used in service.
Yes, that's very well said. Yeah, very well said. And I can feel the deep practitioner that you are, to speak, because this is like an energetic language.
Yeah.
Because right now I feel us speaking from the energy of this magic versus speaking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm not talking about healing. We are in the healing now as we speak, and feel that presence. So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
And to like, we can only transmit what we've experienced from an embodied place, right? So you can read about something out of a book and transmit it, but it doesn't have the same um, medicine, if you will, or medicinal quality
That's right.
that somebody who's been through something and has allowed the process to, I want to say, like, create a transfiguration through
Yeah.
a system, like been transfigured by something, by an experience, into a new level of awareness. Then you carry it in your field, and so um, you're
Mhm.
able to pass that on, at least make the invitation.
Yes. And I'm feeling the call as we get into the meat of our time together. Um, I think it would be fun to have an experience of the breath together with your listeners and with your tribe and your people, because it feels so rich, and everything that you are alluding to is direct experience, and there's a seed that's planted that we have to water a little bit every day,
Mm.
right? It's like we can read about the pineapple or we can eat the pineapple every day. And the pineapple every day is what's going to bring the health, right? Doing our Qigong, our yoga, our ball rolling, that's what's going to bring the health, you know. And podcasts are amazing to bring awareness,
Mhm.
right? Books are amazing to bring awareness. There's been so many books that have transformed how I view reality, but then I have to have practices that keep me in my body, because or else I'm just gonna read poetry all day and read fantasy stuff, Jedi, I'm
Yeah,
lost in the mind.
it's just entertainment if you're
Yeah,
not.
you're right. It's just entertainment. So, for your listeners, these practices are really going to help you to ground whatever you are reading, whatever is inspiring you with a practice. So I invite you, everyone, in this moment. We'll just breathe for 5 minutes. We'll do the two most basic and powerful practices we teach all of our students, and it's the warrior's breath and the belly breath, right? And so if you are driving a vehicle, keep your eyes open and hands on the wheel. If you are at home, then feel free, put your feet on the ground. And as we inhale, feel the crown extend upward. And as you exhale, let out a little sigh. Do this 3 times. Breathing in with a little sound through the nose. Dissolving, relaxing our heart. And letting go. One more with an inner smile. If you'd like, you can bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your belly. And from a scientific perspective, this tunes us into heart coherence, right? 2 minutes of just holding the heart and breathing gets us there. So no fancy breathing required. So in this moment now, simply tune into your heart and close your eyes if you like, and you can also keep your eyes open if you like. And we're going to take 5 deep breaths into the heart. And we call these warrior's breath. So you breathe with a little sound at the tip of your nose and exhale with a little sound at the tip of your nose. Okay, we'll do this 5 times. Just say hello to our heart. On the count of 3, 1, 2, breathe in. And then exhale through your mouth. Let go of everything. Empty out, clearing out. And then breathe in through your nose with a little sound. Let the chest open, the ribs open, and then exhale. Breathing in, gently rock back. And exhale, gently rock forward. Like a tree in the wind, inhale. And exhale, letting go. 4, with great love. Letting go. Last one, feeling alive with spirit. Hold it for a moment at the top. Now relax your shoulders and exhale through your mouth, slow. Feel your spine elongate, dropping into this slow exhale. Feeling the divine vibration within. And then taking a few breaths into the belly, and now feel the belly expand. Feeling this presence together that is eternal, that is beyond time and space. And feel this, we're catching the wave together. And now let's tap a little bit here. So what I do on long road trips, I have one hand on the wheel, and if I start getting sleepy, I tap the thymus like this. Right? So if you tap the thymus, let's do 5 breaths where we breathe into the thymus. And so if you're feeling like really stressed at any moment of the day, do this. Take 5 to 10 deep breaths and just tap the thymus, right? The EFT, right? The emotional freedom, right? And but just real simple. So let's take 5 deep breaths. Just clear any funk in the field. Anything that's not ours, anything heavy, anything, any little stress on our minds, just like let's clear that fire. Okay. So on the count of 3, we'll exhale 5 more warrior's breath. Okay. 1. Breathing in, 2, 3. Exhale. Empty out, and then breathe in with a little sound. Rocking gently back and out. In. Cleansing the lungs. Breathing in fresh chi. Cleansing the heart. Letting go of the mind. 2 more. In. Letting go of stress. The last one, breathe in. Keep tapping. And then exhale. Nice and small. And then let your hands just peel like this. Just stretch your arm wide, open the heart. Drop the shoulders. Just feeling this energy opening in the heart, mind. And then as we close, simply breathe in. We just gather. And then drop the energy down to our mind, down to our heart. Dropping it down deep into the sun inside of our belly, our lower dantian. And with the eyes open, simply take 3 more breaths into the belly and feel the pulsation, feel the sensation in your body. Notice the texture, temperature, the energy, the chi inside of you. And then massage, ground in. And tuning into gratitude for our lives. So this is how I start my day. And then I go into a few rounds of this, and I'll have an intention and I'll breathe for it, and I'll give thanks. And if I've got some worry on my mind, say, God, Great Spirit, help me clear this worry and bring clarity. Where there's fear, how do I breathe into trust? And then I let the breath just take me there, because we can't get there through the mind alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So those somatic tools, the ancients use these somatic tools of toning, mantra, song, right? Dance, rhythm around the fire, boom, 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 the drum beat, breathing, like Avatar when they're around that tree, right? Around that tree, all breathing, holding hands. I'm like, oh, that's what I do. That's what I do on a regular. And then on retreats, we have 20, 30 people all, and it's like we drop into that sacred space beyond time, beyond space. We drop into that sacred moment that Dr. Joe Dispenza, he calls it the quantum field. Quantum field is the sacred field, the enlightened energy that is always there. And sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes, like, oh yeah, I gotta, we have responsibilities. And I want to share this one. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And now you have those somatic tools of the breath to center you, of your movement practice to center you when you're pissed off about chopping wood and carrying water. All of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, it's okay, because things come up in life, and everything dies and falls away, and nobody's perfect, and sometimes life does suck, and it's that compassion. I have compassion for myself, for you. I know that we all have suffering sometimes.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, what I hear you saying, what I feel that Qigong has brought to my life and to my students, and I have a community and we study together and we practice together. So we're not just practicing without understanding the philosophy, and we're not just taking in the philosophy without applying it. So I feel that that's something that happened with COVID and the lockdown, is that we couldn't get together and practice physically anymore. So we started reading about Qigong together, and we've been doing it ever since, because we can see the richness of the communal bonds that have been made. But getting back to my original point was is that there is, underneath all of the texture of life and the diversity of life and the yin and the yang of life, a constant that's always there and never changing, the changeless state, that we can access at any time. And it's not something we have to earn. It doesn't matter what our social economic status is. It belongs to everyone. And so Qigong is a way to drop in, fall open to that which is always there and ever present, and not only just to experience it, but to over time experience it enough that you identify with that is what you are. And then the personality and the chopping wood and carrying water is who you are too, but it's only a small part of who you are. It's not the main.
Yes. Oh, well, yes. You nailed it on the head. We connect with our original nature, and we remember that we have a personality and an ego, but we're so much more than that. We're so much more vast than just the roles that we play in life. There's this presence and vastness of our soul that is changeless, that is timeless.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for you, sharing this wisdom, and being on the journey.
Mm.
And
Thank
it's
you.
community. You said community, and I feel like that's like my biggest purpose. I feel right now on the planet is to gather community, to
Right.
get community. And when I first started out teaching, my first teacher was doing some of the largest qigong 4-day events in the Western Hemisphere. 1,000 people, 2,000 people. And I remember my first time. Like I had a flashback when I was in college. I remember I was on my knees praying to God, like, God, why am I here? What am I here to do? And then he showed me visions of me being on stage with thousands of people. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm terrified of public speaking. And then, I don't know, 5 years later, I found myself with 2,000 people in Orlando, Florida, teaching Qigong on stage.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, like,
It's happening.
happening, you know? And so I'm like, in 2024, I'm going to have at least 3 public weekend events. Right now I only teach private retreats, and who are my dedicated students in our 200-hour somatic qigong teacher training.
Mhm.
And we have a retreat this fall, October 7th through the 15th, and like that's where the magic happens. It really does. But we get to use this Zoom thing to continue to breathe and practice and learn. And then there's a quality of richness that we already know each other. There's a community here, and so God bless the internet. And like I'm so tired of it. I just want to hang out in real. I just want to
Yeah,
be in person with people.
gotcha.
But that's the yin and yang of it, right? It's like what a blessing I get to meet you and connect with your
Right.
heart. I just feel such a kinship and devotion. I feel your devotion, to living an awakened life.
Yeah. Yeah. Cheers to that. And well, I love this that you bring it back to community because um the awakening is a destructive process. No doubt about it. It's, really pulling apart what isn't real and true that we've adopted and been conditioned into, and letting that fall away. That's keeping
Mm,
us separate from the bigger reality. And in order to do that, it's hard to do it alone. In fact, it's impossible to do it alone, but it's really helpful to have community to do that with, because you can be reminded
mm,
and have some accountability to that reminder of your true nature and essence. Because in the projection field of the global consensus, we don't get those reminders and those reinforcements. And
right.
so finding, if you're on a path like this, to awaken to the true nature, to find the community that can support you in reflecting to you
Yes.
that aspect over and over, so that it gets reinforced, and then
Yes.
you have better chance of survival on that path.
That's
Uh,
real. 'Cause like attracts like, and the three jewels you're reminding me of, like one of the most powerful teachings, comes from Buddha, which means awakened one. And then these 3 jewels are Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And Buddha is the awakened one. That seed is within every human, within every sentient, being. And then the Dharma is we each have a path. Some people are meant to cut hair, cook food, teach movement, build things, right? And like you bring that awakened energy no matter what you actually do. And then there's the Sangha, which is the community. And these are the 3 requirements to have a life of purpose and awakening. And it's that community that shares the light and holds a space for our darkness with compassion, holds space for our wounds, because we've all had some trauma of some kind. It's like, oh, you're on a path too, and I see your light. I see what an amazing soul you are, and that reflection is needed in our world, and it's happening. And so for those listeners who are inspired by this, please feel free. I have lots of practices for free on YouTube, breath work and movement and strength training. Just find one that resonates and just do that. Or if there's another teacher you resonate with, or maybe Cyndi has some great, just choose one thing and do that one thing. Don't try to do 10 things. Just do that one thing like we did today. Just 5-10 minutes, right? Master that one thing, right? That breath and that movement. And then you carry that with you when you go into the grocery store, when you go into the smoothie shop, or when you're down at the diner, right? I'm here in the South, man. It's hard to find a smoothie around here, but it's okay. I'm like, it's all good, I bless up the fried chicken with love, and and I just bless up, wherever I am. And when there's especially a lot of intense fear, like when I go back to my mom's house in the Bay Area, I can feel this frenetic energy, a little fear, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of affecting me. So I just make sure I do my practice, put my feet on the earth, say hello to the sun, take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, hour to just be with spirit. And then I can emit that to other humans who can't feel it, but then they smile and they can feel something like, oh wow, they just lifted up my day, and it's as simple as that.
Thank you for that. That's a reminder of, a lot, like you mentioned before, the trauma, like everyone has trauma, and there's a lot of information out there now about healing trauma. And one of the main things they mention is that, to find someone or something like nature that's a regulator, like to co-regulate with something that's already naturally regulated. And so what you're describing in your ability to feel when you're off and to come back home to your center is to regulate and then become a regulator for others, so others can co-regulate with your field. And our field is what we are offering the world, and our body is an anchor for an energy field on this planet, and our responsibility is to that field.
Yes. Hallelujah. You said it so perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that you're giving us this tool of simple breathing, because I think we tend to think that it's got to be a complex thing to make that shift. Like, oh, I don't have time to do an hour yoga practice or an hour Qigong set or Tai Chi or something. But you know what? If we have the right perspective, it can be as simple as a single breath to make that shift.
That's right. Yeah, and
Just
you said a great word there, co-regulation, self-regulation. And so in the science of healing, when, imagine somebody who has never known what a regulated nervous system feels like. They come from, a home where everyone's stressed out. So then they're walking around, and it's not until they meet a actual human and can feel that presence. Wow. And they're aware of it at times. Oh wow, around this person I feel more calm. Around this environment, when I go on a hike, I feel more calm. So it's bridging that gap between the worlds of like, oh, self-regulation, but if we're constantly stressed and we don't know what it's like to not be in fight or flight, that's what, and a lot of them, the world is going through, coming out of PTSD. The COVID is like a thing, right? There's still a lot of people who are living in a fear frequency that's just become their normal. But there's also people who have, this the fear also breaks through into new light. So like this lockdown is like, oh, everyone had to go within, so more people are also waking up than ever, right? More people are having access to this presence of God through nature, through you know new experiences, right? It's like so I'm doing my best to hold that vision for everyone, and not hold the vision of, oh, everyone is in misery, because like there's a duality sometimes, I think, that we get into, and it's like, oh wait, like we're all in this thing together.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because sometimes we awaken because we experience something that works, and we're like, oh, that's it. You get a taste of that. And then other times we awaken because we are experiencing what doesn't work to the point of suffering.
That's
And
right.
and that a shock sometimes is required in order to move to the next level, like a ring pass knot. You have to have some kind of a shock that
Right.
um,
Life
opens
initiation.
initiation or dark night, something that awakens you to the potential of another way of being.
That's right.
And then
Yes.
that integration, it doesn't always happen instantly. Like, it's rare for people to have an awakening like an Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then it's more often a gradual experience of small, you know, um, big and small initiations throughout life. Some are bigger and some are smaller, but
Yeah.
integration is always a part of linking those awakenings together. If you don't integrate, then
That's right.
you will end up repeating the same pattern that keeps you at that frequency that's familiar.
That's right. Yeah. I love what you said there, because the it's like a what the ancient cultures had was initiations and rites of passage to help you go through these new awakenings from childhood to teenage to adulthood to elderhood. And we've lost a lot of those initiations. And collectively we're going from like a collective consciousness on the planet of like teenagers who just want it now, who are all competitive and mine, and there's that. And now we're graduating into true adulthood, which is, like, how do we take responsibility for the earth and each other? And like, it's not about who's got the biggest bank account or who's got the biggest, whatever. It's like, oh, how do we make a better world for our children and our grandchildren? And that's where I feel like we're moving through on a collective. We're all going through a dark night of the soul. We're just coming out of it, right? These last 2 years, we're all coming. Oh, what? We're in a new earth. Holy cow! We're in the Renaissance is here, and I truly believe that in my heart. And but at the same time, heaven and hell are 1 inch apart, depending on your state of consciousness, right? And so that's what this world is. It's duality. And how do we bring that duality here? And either we find the initiations through teachers or mentors or programs or going to a far off land, right? Or life hits you with the 2x4 of awakening, and you get in a car accident, or you get divorced, or right, I tore my ACL, right? That was, put me in my second dark night of the soul. I was like, who am I now? I thought I was going to be a football player, and now I just want to die, and that was so key, and it was, I thought about, taking my life, and I was like, so that's when I got on my hands and knees, like, God, why am I here? Show me, please. Like, why am I on this earth? And we dig deep down enough, the universe brings answers. When we have that heartfelt devotion of, show me who I am and why I'm here, something happens inside of that initiation that I didn't know. We don't know what the next step is, afterwards. And that's kind of the scary part. It's like, who am I now? I'm letting go of all that my identity. And I know you let go of, your identity in many ways and kind of shed that, and you're rebuilding, so for everybody who's in that transition of like, who am I now? Right? That's what we have. Who am I now? Who
Yeah.
have I become from these
Yeah.
challenges?
Yeah. 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 I think over time, I'm probably quite a bit older than you. It becomes more of what's getting done through me rather than who am I. I'm not, I'm realizing I'm not the doer. Not that I'm not conscious and participating in life, but there's something, it is me on another expanded level that's doing through me, but it isn't a personality. It isn't a separate self of with an agenda.
Yes.
It's more of this form was designed for something, and to make sure it gets aligned with the right environment so that it can flourish in that role that it's designed for. And naturally, in doing that, it will attract all of the resources and people that are part of that unfolding. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I love to
Thank you for sharing that.
kind of drop back a little bit, right? Like think of it like all the technology we have, and people are creating avatars and becoming, this other identity online. But when you leave the game, that avatar is sitting there. It's doing nothing, right?
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
not it's not choosing what it's doing. until you pick up the console or, you know, whatever it is that you're using to play the game, and you project your consciousness through that avatar, then it becomes animated. And I feel like it's that way, my sense of it, that this is, you know, an avatar, this body mind complex is an instrument for consciousness that is, you know, the larger version of what's being expressed.
Birth through you. It's like we are each unique expressions of God, and it's being birthed through us, and we are the vessel. And it's like, you know, just like a tree, you know, or a waterfall, or the sun, or whatever that energy is. Like each one of us has a very unique essence, and it's like my ego personality isn't in charge of this essence of God that is unique to this avatar, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like what is this energy that wants to move through, which I'm glad you brought it back to that deeper, more you know, in humble, right?
Yeah.
Like the ancient ways are humble, the metaphysical wisdom, you know, the wisdom traditions, that's you know, they lead from behind, they say, you know,
Right.
lift everyone else up, lift the earth up, and the water and the kids and the, you know, like lift everyone else and help, you know, because it's not about you know, us tooting our own horn so much. Right. And so thank
Well,
you for sharing that.
no, I think you're onto it when you're asking, you know, your hands on your hands and knees asking, what am I here for? That's what you're turning your attention towards is, you know, what is creating through me and what direction are you moving and how do I align with that? That's what you're really asking.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, this has been really amazing. I have another client to get to in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, let's quick tell us about your website and then how people can reach you then.
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go to thenoblemovement.com/Qigong, and that's our 200-hour teacher training. And I have lots of free stuff. If you just go Noble Movement YouTube, you know, you can do a lot of free practices there. But if you're really interested in, like, you know, experiencing these initiations in person and getting to meet fellow, you know, like-minded people on the path, thenoblemovement.com/Qigong. And I, you know, look forward to talking with you and hanging out with you, and, you know, seeing how I can support you on your path of awakening.
Oh, thanks for your great service and all the great work you're doing and raising awareness. Appreciate you. And I see you as a colleague, and I'm really glad I came across your teachings. Thanks for
Yeah,
all that you've been through to bring them to us.
thank you as
To
well.
everyone for tuning in. I appreciate your kind, attentive warmth and your presence. Bye for now.